Yo, this is DJ such and such, and I'm coming to you 107 point something else on your dial, and I'm bringing to you the hottest, latest single from our sister girl Future.
Everybody, get ready. We got to set this party off. Put your dancing shoes on and come and see what's going on. Scan the crowd to see if your friends are in the room. They might be at the picture booth. I'm feeling like it's my birthday, yeah, but this is June. If they don't hurry up, I'm gonna strut my stuff. Me to the dance floor. Grab a partner, rock some more. Rock some more. Can't you feel the vibe, yeah? Pump your fist to the sky. Everybody's feeling high. You got to feel that vibe. All my brothers.
Yeah, what's up?
Holla, holla, holla if you looking fly. All my sisters, chakras are balanced in the third eye. Keep the spirits coming out, back to back. My girl prefers a glass of wine. My roster's like the cold ice, a red stripe. We ready to go on to the break of dawn. Me to the dance floor. Grab a partner, rock some more. Rock some more. Can't you feel the vibe? Yeah. Pump your fist to the sky. Everybody's feeling high. You got to feel that vibe. Take a nap, you might need to lay. Take a nap. Don't hesitate. For Freddy's sake. Feel that vibe. Take a talk and make your escape. Take a talk. Higher place. In your face, you feel that vibe. Take a nap, might be too late now. Take a your body. Oh, that vibe. Take a talk. Take a talk. Higher place. Feel your face.
And the highest tech model. Do you understand? That's real. You can't dispute that. You can take it to any scientific lab you want to, and you ain't gonna dispute that. The fact that you are the totality of all of your ancestors that have ever existed, you can't dispute that. Otherwise, you would not be in existence. In our tradition, the one that I put a lot of energy to, we call the Yoruba. There's no such thing as the Yoruba religion. Get that part straight. There is the religion, or there is the practice of the African cultural spiritual system from the vessel of the Yoruba, because every culture put their own twist on a thing, all right? And we know that one well because the Yoruba population was the last to be enslaved in the Western Hemisphere, so they were the last layered, so the easiest part to remember. The Congo came early, the Angolan came early, the Akan came, but by the time the Yorubas had the great Yoruba-Igbo wars, it was near the end of what we call the slave system, and they got captured and selling their warriors into slavery, not knowing what they were doing. And so that last layer has survived very much intact in most cultures, including here in North America. You know, when we go to Cuba, they call it lucome. But people don't know the word simply means you belong to me, you're mine. We're the same kind. You're my kind. That's all the word means. And they wanted to identify themselves. And they had their marks and scarations who told them. Slave master didn't know what they mean, but they knew what they mean. So when they saw one another, they said, look at me. You're mine. You belong to me. Okay? And so what we have to begin to do is through culture, learn to speak our language again. You don't necessarily have to speak that language, because you can do anything with the English language, you can do it in any African language. It's been a myth that we put to restrict ourselves, knowing we are never going to learn any African language, 99% of us, that this language is inferior. All language is nothing more than tools to convey concepts, ideas, and principles. And the way our ancestors manipulate this thing, which we call Ebonics, was to make it convey concepts and ideas and principles from an African thought structure. And those are the kinds of things we need to study. So you come from Mississippi, you come from Tennessee, you come from South Carolina. All of us had a way to take English and make it say what we want to say and mean what we want it to mean to one another. In fact, most times they didn't understand what we talk about. But we understood it. So then he labeled it bad English and told us we need to stop doing it and learn to do it the way he's doing it. And then we lost our spiritual hookup. Y'all understand what I'm saying? It's important I do the preface for this before we pour libation, so you know what we're doing. In the Yoruba concept, there's something called awo, which means we go and we come. That every one of you in this room, the family that you were born in, that's the family you originally came in billions of years ago. And in the tradition it says we got 8 levels to cover. No, 12 levels to cover and 8 comings and goings to perfect ourselves so we can become one of what we call the Orishas. To be used to the 5 or 10 Orishas, there's billions of Orishas. Forces of nature, the power in nature, the essence of nature, that's what the Orishas are. They're not persons. Okay? And guess what? All of them reside in each one of us. But we don't have the knowledge to cultivate except a few of them. And there's usually one that's dominant because if it's dominant in your family line, so it can be dominant in a particular child. So when you pass, and somebody is passing in our ancient tradition, you gather on the bed, and you don't go there crying, oh, John Boy is gone. Oh, no, you went by the bed and whisper to them, tell the ancestors, we're here. We got troubles of this sort. Or things are doing well with so-and-so. But please, when you come back, send us some help to solve this problem. That's what got whispered in the ear of the person who was leading. Because they knew this person was going to the realm of the ancestors. So give them the vibrations we call sound to deliver to those ancestors so they know who to prepare now to come back in the place of this one through the womb of the woman. Y'all understand what I'm saying? So this is our tradition, this is our theology, but so many of our brothers and sisters get in the tradition, don't study the deep tradition, so they can't teach us the basic theology, so we have an understanding and clarity of what we're doing. Rituals are simply a tool to teach something. What is the something you're trying to teach? And what we are trying to teach is how to be what we call the divine again, how to be perfection again. And so as the person goes, whatever family you were born in, that's the family you're coming back in. Okay? And we see it all the time. And I know down here in Tennessee and Mississippi, you always hear somebody say, that's so-and-so done come back. That's auntie so-and-so. That's titty so-and-so. That's mom dear. That's this one. Because you know that that person is in that little tiny body laying in that bed that just come back. But then we lose the meaning of that as the child grows, and we grow into somebody else's culture. But the first thing we do is do what our ancestors did. So-and-so done come back. In that moment, we know it's true, and then we forget about it after that. But those are the things you got to remember if you want to grow your culture and grow these babies so they can't be destroyed by the system, and that they can slowly build a system of their own, even within the system. If the Chinese could stay right here and survive, we can too. If the Arabs could stay right here and thrive, we can too. While everybody else can come in the midst of this thing and isolate themselves and thrive, except the largest group, and we're the second largest group in America. Germans is the first largest ethnic group, African Americans the second largest. We're the third, I think, richest, wealthiest group in America. The Germans are the wealthiest, the Jews are second, and we're third. So we squander our wealth and give it to our enemy on a daily basis. So when we talk about libation, we're making an appeal to our ancestors, but give us our common sense back. First, by telling them we remember them, we love them, we respect them. Because even the one who had the worst time, because they were damaged and injured by the system, gave us something worthy of remembering. You know, you see an uncle who's a drunk, but he wasn't always that. The system beat him down, kicked him around, stumped him in the ground, and he did as much as he could, and then he couldn't hold up anymore, and he gave in. But what about the time when he was a little boy? What about the time when he was a young man thriving? What about that time when he could take care of himself and the family before he was broken? So if you throw him away, you've thrown away a piece of the chain that makes your chain back to the beginning. You've broken your link. We must learn to put them in context. You can't expect from male energy what you need to call for on a female energy. You can't expect from a person who died as a child, had no experience in the world, than for those who had experience in the world and died as an elder. So those kinds of things we need to learn. This is cultural knowledge. And we need to learn, what is the African cultural knowledge? How do we view things? What is love to an African? You know, we'll talk about that later. But in the libation, oh, wait till Sister get in. We're going to pour it to the four corners. And then we're going to make a gesture to, I don't even like the term Most High, because I don't know whether that's up or down. You know what I'm saying? Because we're in the same outer space as the moon and the other stars and stuff, and we're spinning around. We live in outer space, in case you all don't know it. So the myth of going into outer space is such a stupid concept. You are in outer space. And guess what? You're spinning on a planet. Just like Mars and Jupiter and the rest of the planets. They're probably looking at us and saying, we're out of space. You know? So redirect how you define your reality. Somebody that powers the ability to define your reality, have everybody accept your definition of yourself as where they own. That's your power. They can define their reality any way they want. Just make sure nobody defines your reality. So we are now going to ask the two great ancestors who produced these two great young people who have produced all these other young ones we see running around in here tonight. And we're going to ask their blessings immediately. And I think you told me North is behind me, right? Okay. So you're going to come home, right? I was going to put the brother to work. You know, y'all always call him sister. Brother to work. Right. Okay. So we'll first raise it up as a symbol of representing that which we do not know, but is the cause of everything. You know, we think of this universe and Milky Way and all of that. There's probably trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of galaxies, universe in the universe. Nobody knows. And even the word beginning should not even be in a language, because there's no such thing. There's no such thing as a beginning, and there's no such thing as an ending when it comes to life. And then we point down to represent that other direction. Because we don't know the depth of it. We don't know how far it goes. And we turn and we give a libation to the north. And we turn and we give a libation to the south. And we turn and give a libation to the east. And then we turn and give a libation. That's the west, I'm sorry. No, that's the east. I had it right. Got it right. And then we give a libation to the west. And we ask that this gesture, the water is one of the purest liquids you can consume. And so the gesture of telling the forces of nature that we're paying some respect, we're offering you some substance. Usually you're outdoors when you do these solar ceremonies and you throw the substance to the ground. And so we also want to say we'll give a libation to the mother of this enterprise. And we'll give a libation for the father of this enterprise, to let them understand that we know that they're not disconnected from those ancestral spaces. You know, that body that you once lived in has gone. And let me explain that again. Well, so what if the parents have 6 children? Then that person have created 6 multiplicities of themselves. You understand what I'm saying? We got to get back to our culture, and reality will make sense, and we'll know how to raise children, how to groom them, we'll know how to build relationships. So I'll give them their water. If anyone has brought with them any photos or any memorabilia of their family, you can come and just place it there. Now I'm wearing these necklaces. I don't wear necklaces a lot. They're made out of plastic and cord. So don't get twisted for what they are. They're beautiful, all right? These are made in Brazil. But it's not just plastic and cord. I want to tell you this before I start talking. They're called eleques. And this one is issue lacquer. I'm trying to get away. You could open the door for me. This is issue lacquer. This one is the great Shango, who we hear so much about. This one is the great Ogun, the warrior god, who we hear so much about in the god of iron. This one is the Batala, wisdom. This one is my mother, Oya. And this one is really my first father. I have both Oya, Shango, Ogun, and this is Babaluaye, Shakpana. A lot of people don't like to carry Shakpana because they think it's a little rough. But my life has been rough. If anybody needs a Shakpana with him, it's about to fall. And this one is considered to be the Orisha of smallpox and infectious diseases and so forth. And you have to think of what the ancestors are trying to say. When you got smallpox or the measles, you get all these bumps on your body. But what that is doing is your body trying to get rid of the toxin and poisons inside of you. And so this is symbolic of getting rid of the cultural poisons, the spiritual poisons, the intellectual poisons, the philosophical poisons that's in your consciousness out of you, as well as the physical toxins. And it goes deeper than that. But what these beads represent, when we were brought to this hemisphere, and I'll tell you why the Americans don't use them much. The only place we really had them is in New Orleans, and that's been so bastardized that people don't even know what the beads are that they're throwing around every Mardi Gras. But it's the same thing in the beginning. So white folks took over our system and made it what they wanted it to be. But our people didn't lose it. All from Mississippi, Arkansas, and all along this, our people are still into the old hoodoo way. The root way. I'm a root woman's child, raised in a root woman's home. So I've been in this a long time. I didn't know what I was in, until I got older. But when we were caught in Central and South America, for the largest numbers, the overwhelming majority of us came, they kept us from using our language at the time. We couldn't speak our language. We couldn't have meetings. We couldn't tell our stories. We couldn't do our dances. We couldn't do any of the things that transfer knowledge from one generation to the other. If you don't do that, you're going to lose your wisdom system. So the ancestors, in their brilliance, came up with a code system using the one thing the white man would let them have, beads to decorate themselves. So they created a code system that contains in the design, the color, and the arrangements, the philosophical aspect of that part of their wisdom system. So in all of this, what they ended up doing using beads is preserve the wisdom system. This is a university on African spiritual culture. You don't understand it? Our people are genius. They pull this shit off in a sugarcane field. Right? They pulled it off. And many of us don't know what they pulled off. What's hidden in the meaning of all of these, I'll just do a couple and show you what I mean. Right? We know Shango. Everybody knows Shango is the king, right? But what does that mean? What is, in an African context, what does the symbol of the king mean? The symbol of the king means authority. It means power. It means you have to have wisdom, and etc. And the story of Shango talks about him being the Aladdin or the king. But he gets taken over because he has all this power by arrogance, by intolerance, by selfishness, by egoism. And he has his two brothers fight to the death. And the one who killed the other one would then be let free. He had imprisoned his own brothers. But when one of the brothers killed the others, he realized, oh my God, what I've done. Out of ego and arrogance and all of the negative qualities. So he runs off in the woods and he commits suicide. They said he hangs himself. But he doesn't really die. Because, oh yeah, my mother comes and cuts him down. What died in the forest from the tree was the negative quality and attributes. What arose out of Shango was the positive quality and attributes of knowledge, of wisdom, of understanding, of learnedness, of tolerance, of respect, and of servitude. And that became only a small portion of what you got to master in yourself if you're going to be a devotee of Shango. And in that sense, Shango represents the courage, the internal courage to call for change in your own character and your own spirit. That courage must then meet and marry the beautiful, transparent Oya, which is symbolized by the wind, right? And she can run from being a woman to becoming an antelope or a deer or into other things, but she represents the wind. What is the wind? The wind blows in change. The wind blows away impurities and allows for the fresh essence to take its place. So Oya represents change in process. So the courage to change oneself must marry change itself. Okay? And Oya will go on, then marry Ogun, the god of iron, the god of war. What is iron? How do you get iron? You take a piece of rock full of impurities, and you throw the rock in the fire, and you burn out the impurities, and at the end of the day you got steel that you can use for tools, to make weapons, to make tools, to build things. What does that represent? Transformation as a result of change that was initiated with the courage to change. You all get it? This is a philosophical school of thought. This is our wisdom system. Okay? I'm only wearing, I think, 6 tonight. But I do possess 12 that I've worked, into myself and still working on. If you can make a space for what is knowable, mine is like what you can see between my finger in terms of what I know. Because there's so much there is to know. But we can begin by studying and reading our history, our culture, especially those written by our people. Every now and then you've got to go and see the research of some of our enemies because our people gave them information. And some of them have written them down well. Like the ones who did the research on the Dogon. And there's a few good ones who did research on the Yorubas. But also have a benefit of doubt for anything you read about us coming from the enemy. Even on many of us who have the enemy consciousness and the enemy intellect governing their behavior, don't trust it. Take there's something in you that's alive from the divine beginning that'll tell you something is wrong. Because most times we don't listen to it. That's why you got to meditate and you got to contemplate. You got to introspect. Go inside and quiet yourself. Turn everything off, include these phones, everything sometimes. And just go inside and listen to yourself. And then you realize there's something talking to you 24/7. We just ain't listening. Learning your culture and learning your history will get you in the mood of beginning to listen to your ancestors, because that's who's talking to you. They're down the road ahead of you. They say, I already reached the cliff. If you keep walking, you can fall your ass off there. All right? But you ain't listening. You just mind, you listen to them, you talking kind. And when you get to the cliff and fall off, then you're going to blame somebody. But they would tell you all along, don't go no farther, stop. Or don't turn that corner, Take your time, peek around there first, see what's going on. But we don't listen because we got other things on our mind. And we got to clear our minds of some of these other things. And we get to learn how to meditate. And one good way to do it is that when you come in your house at the end of the day, don't go sit down and watch TV or run in the kitchen, fix some food or fix a cup of tea. Have a quiet spot where you go and you wash your hands, you wash your face, you take off your shoes, and you wash your feet. And just sit there for 10 or 15 minutes. And leave that outside stuff behind you. Then come into your home. And when when you start doing it, you'll notice how more and more your home will become a peaceful sanctuary. The other thing you should set aside at least 1 hour, I say 2, but 1 hour a day, where you're reading a book about us, or you're watching a decent video DVD about us. 1 hour a day, and it will change your world. And when you can't afford it, because these airline makes it so expensive, travel to Africa. Not to spend up a bunch of money buying a bunch of things unless you're in business to sell what you're buying. Yes, get a couple of nice clothing and outfit and stuff. I do that too, you know. But for the most part, go and learn. Don't just go there and say, well, I want to live in the Waldorf Astoria. Get your butt up in the village and sleep in a hut for a night or two. To see where your ancestors were and how that feels. You'd be surprised when you lay on that ground, what comes into your body. I'll tell you a little bit about when I went through one of my initiations. I've been through multiple initiations because I'm in multiple systems. But I wasn't looking to try to be in a bunch of religion. I was searching. And I was jumping into anything that opened the door. You know, I went to Mecca twice before Minister Farrakhan and most of the other men who I did teaching us so well because I was searching. And I was in Mecca when I really, there's a sister, I don't know, anybody ever heard of Mama KK? Mama KK is the first young African-American priestess. And she worked under the King, Baba Sergeant. They started the village in South Carolina. But they were Malcolm's friends. So when Malcolm died, I inherited all of his friends. And they were trying to teach our people the Yoruba tradition back in the 60s and the 70s. And they lost their building. So I opened my mouth. Imagine what the Muslims thought of me. I don't want to tell you what the brothers called me because I was too ugly. I opened my mouth to let the Yoruba temple meet on Sundays. And one morning, about 12 brothers roll up on me, guns in hand, to kill me, saying I wasn't no Muslim. Who the hell are you to make that decision and that determination? But they felt they could make that determination. But the forces of energy would not let them kill me. And I always tell people, I says, boy, you move all around the world. I'm like 73 years old now. I've been doing this stuff since I'm 50-something. I mean, for 50-something years. Because when the forces of my ancestors is ready for me, you can't keep me here. And if those forces don't want me to be taken away, you can't send me from here. You understand that? And I move like that. And I live like that. You know? When I met Brother Patrick, and he got me to come down to Mississippi 2 weeks ago, down in Coldwater, I said, don't bring me down to Mississippi, then you'll give me some security. Set up at the airport with 6 or 7 or 8 armed men carrying 9mm on the side. You want security? We got you. And I appreciate that. Sister Crystal, who's really the architect of everything. But when I was in Mecca, I go to Mecca because I want to, and I wasn't going to Mecca. Let me tell you how I got into Islam. I have not given a darn about religion since I was a teenager. My grandfather was a Baptist minister. He didn't care about religion. My grandmother was a root lady. Overt. Everybody in the community knows Miss Pigeon, root lady. You need any work done, that's where you go. Anybody gets sick, that's where you go. You want somebody to deliver your baby, that's who you call. So we lived in the woods. I grew up in the swamps in South Carolina, you know, on an old plantation. And so I didn't know I was in Africa until I went to Africa. He goes, wow, I just left Africa to come to Africa. Right? And I'm going to explain that to y'all later. A lot of y'all want to run away from Africa to go to Africa without understanding Africa is where the African is, not where the African goes. Okay? But I'm in Mecca, so I'm going to take Malcolm's nephew right now. His mama, Ella, who's Malcolm's sister, I was her chief bodyguard. And I lived in their home. And see, after Malcolm got killed, Roddy was all messed up. So she wanted me to go take him to Mecca. And when we got to Mecca, from day one, weird things started happening. Right? I carried 2 books of it, the Negro Almanac. Anybody ever seen that book? But this day came out in about the 60s or something like that. And then I had J.L. Rogers, Black Man of Color. So I said, because they said you go to Mecca, you're supposed to teach people. So I want to teach about Black history, man. And remember, there ain't no Black history movement yet, except for a few of us in certain circles. So I get over to Mecca. First day we get there, Roddy and I, we're the only 2 Black Americans there, in the midst of thousands thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. So when we go to the counter, the people get so excited to see these two black Muslims from America with passports. They just hand out passports to anybody. So it took the intelligence people 2 days to find these passports. And it's all we'll find it. They finally, because everybody wanted to see what a black Muslim from America looked like. So we finally, while we were waiting for our passports, we had the place, what's called Hajj Central in Jeddah. And so we were outside, we were drinking Coca-Cola, me and Rodnell. And three men, old men, my back was turned, Roddy was facing that way. And these three men came and they stopped right abreast me. And I paid attention because I'm in a foreign country. Why three dudes stopping so close to me? The big one in the middle, who may have been in his 70s, the other two was very obviously older. He walks in front of me. I mean, out of the blue, he don't say nothing to me. He just walked and put his face right up on mine like this. I took a deep breath and he jumped back. And I felt like the man was looking through my eyes and in my brain. I'm like, okay, this don't seem right. So he walks back up to me and he does it again. He puts his face right there. Then he said, and he jumps back. So I said, okay, I'm a little nervous now. So when he tried to do it again, I stuck my hand out and I stopped him. I said, excuse me, sir. Then he jumped way back. He said, you Nigerian? I said, no. Then he said, where you from? I said, I'm from Harlem. I was looking for a word that anybody in the world would respect. You have some power in it. I said, I'm from Harlem, even though I was living in Boston. So the guy came up to me and he put his hands up and he says to me, you're going to be a great man someday. It scared the hell out of me. So I grabbed the old man by the wrist, and then I was strong. This is 1974, you know, I had the muscles, the balls and stuff. Grabbed the old boy by the hand, and he slipped out like I had no power. Then my knees buckled, because now I'm really scared. Two others were just standing there saying nothing. Rodnell, that was the most complex. He's standing there drinking the Coca-Cola like he don't even see him. He ain't saying nothing. So I said, then I got panicky. I said, sir, please, why are you doing this to me? He said, when we get ready for you, join up the two guys, and they walk off. Roddy still ain't saying nothing. So I turned to them and said, you see them ends? And he said, yeah. I said, and I'm perplexed now, because he ain't getting excited about nothing, right? He saw it just went down. So I said, I'm going to go catch him to see what this is all about. And as I ran off from him, he said, you'll never see them again. I looked at him one quick glance, ran through the gate, but I don't see nobody. So now I'm scared. Like I came to Mecca, and I remember coming, I was saying, I'll probably see Malcolm. Malcolm was probably really still alive. Maybe they didn't really kill him, you know, and maybe I'll bump into Malcolm someplace. So now this is like scary. A few hours later, the people came back with our passports, because we'd been about 2.5 days, 3 days waiting for them. And we go on our journey to Mecca. No, we don't go to Mecca yet. I started teaching some soldiers. The year before that, I'm telling you this because I want to bring you back to Africa and back to African America around things spiritual. Because we drop our own essence chasing other people's essence and finding why our problems don't get solved. Right? So here I am, deciding I'm going to, well, the year before, the Arabs had killed hundreds of African Muslim pilgrims. So this year, Nigeria sent the Nigerian National Guard, one of the biggest army in Africa, to Mecca and Jeddah to protect the pilgrims. And most of the Nigerian army, as you know, was then and are now Muslims. And so they also sent the Nigerian Boy Scouts to police the area where black people were living. And when I'm talking about people, I'm talking about 500,000 black people, right? Living in space beyond where your eyes could see, in tents and stuff. And so I'm at this little tea shack, and there's 3 Nigerian soldiers. So I tell the soldiers about our history. They say, oh, nothing like that. They knew nothing about slavery. As you found out when you went to Ghana. We think people know this history because they're in Africa. They know nothing about this. We know more about African history, African Americans, than most Africans in the world. Okay. And so they thought I was like making up stuff. Then I broke out my book and they started looking at the pictures of the lynching and all the different things. So they go and come back with their general and some colonel, high-ranking officers. They told them what I said, and they came back saying I was a liar. So I could show them the books. And they're shocked. For an hour or so, they're looking through all my material. The next night, he comes back with 200 men. He said, teach my men what you were teaching us last night. That went on for 2 nights, and all of a sudden, the Saudi intelligence people come to me and said, we don't want you running a T-Shack forum in Saudi Arabia. And so I told him, I'm not holding the forum, I'm just talking to my brothers. And I said, I'm an imam, I have diplomatic immunity, and one of my instructions as an imam is I'm to teach when I come to Mecca. But we're still in the capital of Jeddah. So they pulled me in and said that I owed a fine. They knew how much money I had. And the fine was $500 or something. Now I'm in Saudi Arabia, I'm broke. Right? They take all my money, so I call my wife, and I told Carol to wire me. Then they had something called Telex. So Telex me some money to the Chase Bank, which she did. I went to the Chase Bank that morning, and they're so happy. Oh, salam alaikum, kefalik rahmatullah, Muslimin from America. Oh, they just being sweet. And I'm happy that they're happy that, I'm there. They told me, oh yes, your money is in the system, and if you come back at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock, your money will be ready. So I went back and I told Roddy, we got some money, we can eat now, Go back to the bank. The same guy who greeted me with all that joy and vigor, he dropped his head and pointed to me to go in an office. Now I'm from South Carolina, I know crackers. He dropped his head, didn't acknowledge me as he was hugging me and acknowledging me, and pointed me to go in that office. I know something wrong. So when I get in the office, the dude jumps up from behind the desk, shakes my hand, salam alaikum, my brother, please have a seat. I'll be right back. When he walked out the office, I walked out the office. And there was a stair that went up. So I went under the stairs, behind the stairs. He comes back down with 2 white men. And I step out from under the stairs. I said, what is this about? This is Mr. Small. We're from the American Consulate. We are members of the American Central Intelligence Agency. And the Saudi government has asked us to take you home. I don't mind going home. I'll kill it. That kind of thing. They said, well, the Saudi government is complaining that you hold in T-Shack forums and they do not appreciate it. Yada, yada, yada. Black people talking to black people about black history in Mecca, and we all Muslim, and they said we couldn't do that. Do you think we had a problem in America? So, being from South Carolina, I know how to handle it. I stopped boo-hooing, crying, water all down my face, telling me, all right, I'm hungry, I want to go home. And, I don't understand what this thing is all about. But I fought for it, and I knew what they wanted, right? I said, Malcolm X's nephew, y'all know Malcolm, yes, we know Mr. Malcolm X. So his nephew, Ron, now, he with me too, and he want to go home too. And I told him I'm supposed to meet him at 4:30 or 5 o'clock near the Jeddah airport, and that's where my suitcase is. I said, look, I'll go tell Roddy that y'all gonna give us money, y'all gonna pay over this. Yeah, we got all that covered. So I said, well, could we meet you back here at 5 o'clock? They said, oh yeah. But when they arrested me, it was at Kennedy 3 weeks later at the airport, right? Because I got away, and I told Roddy what was down, and we got with the Nigerian driver named Bukra, who drove for the embassy, and he drove us into Mecca. That's called Haram. They can't come in there. So there's a certain sector you can't come. So I was safe. But once I got there, every night I went to sleep. First of all, other things went down. We had some confrontation. I get poisoned. Roddy gets scared. They're going to pull guns on me and him. There's a whole bunch of things that go down. Because we found out there was a graveyard with all the wives of the Prophet Muhammad, what nobody ever told us nothing about. The rich crackers was doing a special pilgrimage up there. We followed them, trying to sneak in. Found people pulling AK-47s on us. And some Palestinian brothers helped us out of that situation. There was another time they were excavating a town or a city where they were building a freeway just on the edges of Mecca. And they found these outlay of the houses, yes, when you see the houses on the ground. And the bodies within the houses buried in the middle of the living room were in the fetal position. And they were jewelry and other things, so they had one barrel in a bag. They would take all the jewelry and the wealth put in one bag, and then they put all the bones in. But now we dress like Arabs, so they take Roddy, who's 6 foot something, is a big rich Arab. He's like that with a hook nose, and I was like a little servant Arab, right? So they just let us all up in there because we didn't say nothing. And I'm taking pictures of everything. And Roddy now made the mistake of talking to me, and they heard that. And they came in took all of the film and everything except the 2 rolls I had in my pocket. And the cameras and threw us out, yada, yada, yada. What was significant about what they were doing, there's only one culture that buried their kings and queens in the middle of the living room floor of their home, and that's an African culture, because they still do it in Africa today, and they bury them in the fetal position. But they don't know that I know all of this. They think they done got away with something. So after that, things get hard for us. Because we put loose in fantasy free, ain't nobody controlling us. We learned there was about 10 other black Americans there, but they were under the government control, and they were taking them around and having them sleep in this mosque. We were sleeping under trees, on the ground, and our sleeping bag and all kinds of crazy stuff. We even went to the Jeddah hotel that Malcolm had slept in and asked for a room. They wouldn't give us a room. So you know what we did? We took over the lobby, and we slept in the lobby all night in our sleeping bag. They put us in the corner. They didn't know what to do with us, so they put us in the corner. But then I think that's by the time I caught malaria, and Rodnell's panic. He leaves me in Mecca by myself. Comes back home and said, well, y'all need to prepare for the funeral, because when y'all hear from him again, he's going to be dead. I was sleeping in a cardboard box. I was homeless in Mecca. Can you figure that shit out, right? Sleeping in this cardboard box with my sleeping bag, stealing nuts and fruits and dried hard bread to eat on a daily basis. Every now and then I'd meet a Muslim who would give me a little something to buy some food. But I refused to leave because I met the Mufti of Sudan, the man who represented all the Muslims from Sudan, and I told him about the racism and abuse I saw happening to African people. And then I found out there was a body of men that I'd never heard of, and most Muslims in this part of the world had never heard of. And when I say it, none of y'all ever heard of it. Have y'all ever heard of the Alim? Alim is called the Rabat Alim al-Islami. And they call it the Rabata. It is like the Vatican for Islam. It is where they have 3 jurisprudence scholars from every country sit to interpret the laws and the rules of Islam that the rest of Muslims in the world go along with. And they secretly make all the decisions you see happen in Islam around the world. And nobody even know it exists. Well, I talked to Muslims today after all these years. Have y'all ever heard of the Rabata? And they don't know. And when I went into the Rabata, the up-front little cracker boys, Arabs, didn't want me to meet them. He tried to give me books. I said, man, come over here, some books I could buy from America. And so I refused to leave this place, but I forgot, because I'd gotten sick and I had to feed them by then, that I had a letter telling these people who I am, from Malcolm's sister Ella and the Muslims from the UN in Egypt, because I'd gotten over there through Muammar Gaddafi and my friend who was the ambassador from Egypt to the UN. And so, but I'm sick, so I forgot I got this letter. So after sitting in this place all day, I remember I got a letter. So there was a black man sitting there all day, never said a word. Sudanese. So when I go to the white guy, so I got a letter. He said, oh, I don't speak English. Then the black man stood up and said, oh, I speak English. I'm saying, like, but you said it all day, hear me begging and this. And so the guy comes out and takes the letter, it takes about 15 minutes to translate it to paragraph, and it came Ella, it was signed by Ella, Sister Ella, and they saw Allah. So now I'm a black American with a letter from Allah. If I wasn't sick, it would have been funny. So he runs down the hall to where the big boys are, someplace back there. Then he comes, same man, abusing me all day, nasty to me all day. Now when he takes this letter, because Ella's name is on there, and the man who was over all of Islam in America was an Egyptian name is on there, he runs back out and falls to his knees and do this to me and beg me. That's the Rabatel said if I could come back tomorrow, they would give me a concert. Now I got some guns. I ain't going nowhere. They gonna see me today. You know, like I had any steps to do anything, right? I refused to move out of that chair. So he runs back down the hall. And then he comes back. Now he's gonna show me affection. So he takes his little finger and sticks it out. And part of the brotherly thing, you take your little finger and lock it in your little finger. We see them do that in Ghana sometimes. And then you go walking off together. So now he's sitting there that abused me all day, taking me to office to office. Oh, meet the Muslim from America, our beloved brother, and yada, yada, yada. Then some old man came and got me and said it was time for prayer. And then they put me on the front row with all of the chefs, which was a high, high honor. I'm talking, I got about 100 big wigs, right? we're meeting with the rebels from the Philippines. So anybody remember when Marcos was over the Philippines and there was a Muslim rebel guerrilla war going on? So they were trying to broker that peace. And so he said, well, we can meet with you tomorrow. But I said, I'm still not leaving. So they picked 2 elders to meet with me in this big room. We walked into this big room in the middle of this big complex, and the room is red, black, and green. And I remember that struck me because the garbage cans and stuff was painted red, black, and green. And I thought that was so odd, right? And so I'm in this room with this one man, and he says, we're honored that a disciple of Holy Malik have come to see us. And I said, excuse me. He says, we are honored that a disciple of Holy Malik has come to see us. He said, you do not know that your Malcolm X, Al-Hajj Malik Sabbath, is a saint in Islam. Most black Americans don't know this, unless they would treat that man completely different. And so I'm sitting and I'm talking, but he still puts me through the test. He asks me the 10,000 questions about Islam to see if I know the answers. Of course, know that I'm sharp, I have that Sharia down. So when they realized this dude ain't no fool, then they made an offer. They brought the case to, will $1 million do? I'm sitting there like, that ain't real. They're tricking me. And they said, this will help you build your mosque. I said, I didn't come here for money. He looked at me like, nigga, you crazy? I said, I didn't come here for money. I don't want your money. And I pushed the thing away. So he said, bartender, there's a dude standing in the corner of this big room. And I could only see the silhouette, but I was watching him because he hadn't been introduced. He comes over, he's a black-skinned Pakistani. And they tell me, this is the black American Muslim representative on the council. We don't even know we got a representative on the council. No, we don't know there is a council, all right? But let alone have a representative. I'm telling you all this because I'm coming back to the Europe thing. So I challenged them, and I wouldn't take that money. And they were perplexed. And so he says to me, you're not a believer. I said, oh shit, this is what's going to go down right now. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get out the door. Can I find my way back down the labyrinth of hallways and get out this building? He said, you're a Noah. And I was still kind of shocked that I wasn't a believer. That's what Muslim means. And I thought he was telling me I wasn't really a Muslim. But he's saying, you're a Noah. And so he calls the guy over and he whispers something to the guy. And the guy leaves the room. And he's still talking, but now he realized I'm sick. So he grabs my hand and he's patting my hand. He said, you're going to be all right. That's fever, right? And so as he's patting my hand, the door opens again. In comes the entire council, almost 100 men, mostly elderly men. Whatever my turning down that money did, they ended that meeting with the Philippines, and they all came. And then they came with a tray, big gold tray, and they had little cups. And I thought, they're going to poison my ass, right? And they thrust the tray towards me first. And so I said, if I don't take that drink, they're going to feel I don't trust them. But if I take the drink, I'll die. This is going through my mind in a split second. But when the tray got about right there, I reached out and took the cup off. Everybody looked at me and I drank. It was the bitterest thing I ever drank in my life. And then they all smiled and they all got a cup. And the tray got passed around the room. And they all drank. And they welcomed me. And that's when I became Al-Hajj. Shaheed. I'm the only Muslim, that don't have an Abdul in the name. Abdul means the servant of. I don't have an Abdul. I'm Hajj. Shaheed. Which is the faithful witness. Not the faithful servant of the witness. The faithful witness. I didn't understand what none of that meant. I just want to get the hell out of here. To Boston in one piece back to the United States. Some sanity as I understand it. So I leave them. And they told me they would bring my wife and my family and everybody the next year. I wouldn't have to pay for nothing. In my brain I was saying, if I ever get out here, I will never come back here again. So I said yes and thank you. And it said, I said, well, do I have permission to leave? They said, oh no, you can't go. He said, there's some people that want to meet you. And so the young men who was negotiating, the guerrillas from the Philippines, there was about 20 or 30 of them, they came into the room, all young men in their 20s and teens, and they're all wearing black berets. We're in Saudi Arabia now. Black leather jackets, black t-shirts, black fatigue pants, black boots, and they came in front of me and belted in the air and said, Black Panther! I'm saying, I just booed. I broke down and started crying. Why I was crying is here these kids in jungles fighting a war, and we were the symbol of the revolution, and we didn't have a clue. Right? And when I got some composure, because a lot of them came and embraced me and stuff, when I got some composure, they explained who they were. And that's why initially they couldn't meet with me, because they were trying to broker this. But when these young men heard that I was there, they stopped the meeting and they said, we want to meet him. And that's why the council came in. So after I left that, the word was kind of out not to let me leave Saudi Arabia, let me die from my sickness. And so I spent an extra week and a half there because they wouldn't let me out of the country. And I started having these dreams, and each night in my dreams, these motives came to me and took care of me. Motives is a mythical figure, but they're not really mythical, because I've met them and I've been among them in Ghana, little people, right? But then I don't know nothing about no motives. I think I'm going crazy from the fever, because these little people kept coming to me in my dreams every night. And I would always wake up in some African community in Saudi Arabia. They would feed me and take care of me. I didn't speak their language. They didn't speak my language, but they took care of me. So one day I gave up. I said, because I went to just Mecca that day, and I saw thousands of people. The Hajj is over now, but I can't get out. They won't let me out. And so every day, thousands of people die. They wrap them in white on their board, and they march them around the Kaaba, and I guess bury them somewhere. And I'm sitting there thinking, which is going to be my day, when they were going to wrap me on one of those boards and march me around the Kaaba. I got no money to call home. I got no way to contact my people. I'm totally cut off from everybody. And I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'm taking these white cloths off. I had one blue dashiki. I put that dashiki on, a pair of jeans and some sneakers. That's the closest to Africa I could get. Let me go and identify. Leave Mecca. I go back up to Jeddah. As soon as I got up to Jeddah, I meet the CIA boy. I thought they were going to arrest me. He said, look, because I'm the first one ever escaped from them, the other ones wanted to meet me, right? So I wasn't scared no more. I'd go into their offices at the airport and meet all these white people, and they just tell me, well, how do you get down to Mecca, and how did you get over here? And they let me walk right back out the door. Today, I think I was like stupid, but then I didn't care, because I didn't think I was getting out of there alive anyway, so it really didn't matter. So I go and I'm sitting on this curb, and I'm crying, because I think I've given up. I'm hungry, tired, no money, ain't going home, ain't gonna see my young wife no more, my children. And while I'm sitting there crying, somebody speaks to me. And I look up, and it's this big, tall Nigerian man in a full Yoruba buba. And I'm thinking like it's an illusion of everybody else got on white, back and forth. And he speaks to me in Yoruba. And I said, sir, I speak only English. He said, oh, I speak English. He said, what is the matter? And I told him my story. He said, come, I'll get you out. That's how I got to Saudi Arabia. He got me out on French Airways. And as soon as I got back to America, you know what I did? I closed the Muslim Mosque Inc. And I stepped down as the imam. Even though those people in Arabia had given me a telephone number where I was going to be protected, where all the money I need I could get, I could build my mosque anywhere I want. When I got back, I said, it's a wrap. But I didn't seriously go into the Yoruba tradition yet. I'd been under Mama KK and Baba Surgeon and Chief of Jama and them studying for years. But I was a Muslim, so I had to kind of, do one in secret and one in the open. But now I go full-fledged. I got to learn African history and African culture. I got to understand who I am. So when I talk to my people, so the first thing you do, learn about your grandma, learn about your grandpa, learn about your aunties, learn about your uncles, learn about the people who survived in Cold Water and all those other 20-something towns. Who were those black people? Learn about the black people who settle this place. Learn about the black people who come from all over Mississippi, Arkansas. You will find Africa was born here. I'm not caught up in that foolishness about Aborigine. That's some other crazy going on. I ain't there. But if anybody knows my teaching, I've been telling people for years that my blood comes from Africa and it comes from the blacks who were here when we came from Africa. So we've always been here. Just like we've always been in Australia, always been in New Zealand, always been in South America, always been in Vietnam, Cambodia, India, even Europe. We've also always been here. So if we're going to be Aborigine every place else in the world, why not North America? That shouldn't be no surprise to anybody. You know? But the foolishness is that, well, somebody who just discovered this, and not that, well, no slave ships came. It's foolishness. There were some of us here. And if you go anywhere in the world, we're the brownest Africans in the world. And we are uniformly the tallest Africans in the world. What makes us so different from all of the African communities on the continent, in the Caribbean, and other parts of the world in the East? And that's the question we need to answer. Because there's two routes in which we took. There are those who were always here from the beginning of time. When Africa and North America was one continent. They have a name for it they call Pangea. And when the ice melted in the north and the Atlantic Ocean was formed, they drifted apart. They didn't really drift. There was a continental drift, but they didn't drift apart. The water just covered up a lot of things. When I first came home from the military in '66, so I was into the studies very early on before I went into the military. I was in the movement. I met Malcolm in '63. And so when I come home in '66, there was a news story on TV about them finding a shellfish fossil in the mountains of Virginia. But that shellfish is found no place else in the world except off the coast of Guinea, West Africa. Okay? That just triggered something in my brain. Say that one again. You found a shellfish fossil in the mountain of Virginia that's only found on the shores of Guinea. No place else in the world ever. That could only mean that Virginia and Guinea was once the same place. Right? This kind of information practice keeps secret. Imagine the richest country in the world, with the most universities in the world, but you don't see no anthropology and archaeology on America. Why is that? Wouldn't it seem like the museums over here would be full of this stuff? Because everywhere they dig it comes up black. And so they hit it. Well, all of it is the old world. But for Africa, we've always been one world. We've been everywhere. No one can even say that the place we call Africa is where the first Genesis took place. We just know it took place on Earth. But we were everywhere. While we were in Africa, we were here, we were in Australia, we were in Central America, South America. They're now doing research where they admit that we're in South America. And they said they found the last remaining blacks who came here before the Mongolians, who we call Indians, in Argentina. And they interview a couple of sisters. How they know they did the last two remaining black folks? White folks are like so full of it. But what we have to do, every monument in this country, every culture in this hemisphere, every one of them have left in painting black people. From Meso all through the Central America, South America. That's not been a question. The problem is this information has been out here a long time. This is not new information. Ben Servan and others is writing about it, and others is writing about it before I've been Servan. But we're just coming into knowledge of some of this, and then some of us then take it and draw conclusions without really doing the research of history. African is the original human being, period. We are the parent people of Earth, period. We were the original Europeans, period. We're the original Chinese, period. We're the original Cambodians, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. What we've got to understand is what we are. Be so hung up on the who we are. We're the human being. We're the God beings. Study African language. And in every language, the word for person, people, place, or thing have as its what do you call the prefix or suffix, their word for God. So they say, although Africans never call themselves by names like we do, they simply call themselves the God people. Or they didn't use the word God like the G-O-D we use. That word didn't exist. But they were calling themselves whatever their concept of the divine totality was. And if you look at many of the languages, when they refer to a divinity, they refer to it as the totality of creation itself. It is the totality of creation that is the causation. And they don't put a beginning to it or an ending to it, because you can't have a beginning or an ending. That's inconceivable. Because for something to begin, something had to be there to begin in. So how are you going to know a beginning? What is it going to begin from? If it began from something, that something had to begin from something. This had to begin from something. This had to begin from something. So that notion is silly. Europeans created things that allow them then to control what they could put within their square. What we've got to understand is that we are the universe. Every element in the universe is contained in us. So we are the universe. But here in North America, we have all this big argument. I'm a Moor. I'm a Hebrew. I'm the brothers in South Carolina. Something just came up with a new thing about a full acronym thing. African da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The world and the way we define things today defines space. And the word African is not a European word. And anybody who can prove to me Africa is a European word, I'll give them my paycheck for the next year to do without that money. Because you don't see the word appearing nothing in Europe, in none of the language systems of Europe. And if you study the word, you find out how the word came about. The people in Tunisia and Algeria call themselves Afri. There are others that call themselves Afri. If you go to Ghana now, one of the big family clan names is the Afri. And if you find out who those people who live in Ghana now, many of them migrated from what is Morocco, what is Tunisia, what is Algeria, when the Germans, the Visigoths, and the Ostrogoths came over. And then when the Arabs came, there was even greater migration south of our people. But it was the Roman that coined the word. They were going to the land of the Afri. The Roman word for land is Khat. They were going to Afri land with the Morush, or the Merush is the Greek word for black slave. We're going to Afri land with a black slave. That Merush, that Greek word for black, has become the word you call Moors. It means black. And nobody in Africa ever used that to describe themselves. These labels we wear are the labels white people put on us, including the one Africa. We call ourselves Afri. They call us Africa. That got caught on in the 15th century when the Arabs take over and began to label all of us under that label. By the time the slave trade come along, the Europeans who was learning about slavery and learning how to run the slave trade from the Arab Muslim who was running the slave trade for 1,500 years before them, then labeled all of us that. Our names for ourselves was simply whatever word we used to mean human or God. So if you study the language, and you see that's the only name they had to themselves. But that's notwithstanding, a people who do not know their history is lost. Little fragments and pieces of history to make you feel good is not knowing history. You've got to know the history of these plantations up here in Mississippi and in Tennessee and South Carolina and Georgia and Arkansas and Louisiana. You've got to learn the history of those black people who were there. Who are they? Who did you come out of? What was the history? Did they fight? What was the warfare they were up against in these deficits and surviving? How did we survive this genocide in America? Let's stop letting other people define us. Let's define ourselves. Then study the history of the genocide that people call the slave trade. There was no slave trade. There was a European capturing and practicing genocide on African people. We weren't no slaves. In order to have a slave trade, you have to have some slaves. We weren't no slaves to nobody. We were captured people, and a crime against all of humanity was committed against for hundreds and hundreds of years, really 2,000 years plus. So the Arabs were doing this to us for 1,500 years. The Arabs and the Turks and the Eastern Europeans under the guise of their Islamic nation, before we even met these European, Eastern European, Western European crackers, who then tapped into that system. So we need to learn that history. Study the revolution in Haiti. Learn that fact. We just celebrated that lady's birthday the other day. But study the revolution in what is now Kuwait. And it comes under the rebellion of the Zanj, Z-A-N-J-R. Study the rebellion of the Zanj. It is the biggest revolution in the world, not the Haitian revolution. It captured a whole area of the world before that, but they made a mistake we make now. We went marching to our enemy to have a peace talk. You beat them up. Instead of make them march to you, you march to them. They got ambushed, the leadership on the road to Damascus, and got wiped out. And we lost the revolution. But there's a good book. It's called, it's actually Jahiz by Jahiz. J-A-H-A-Z. Y'all got it right tonight? Y'all know enough time. Jahiz by Jahiz. It's an 8th century black man living in Iraq, and he writes 9 small books. Jahiz by Jahiz. J-A, or either J-I-H-A-Z or J-A-H-I-Z. But just getting close, the computer will kick it up for you. And one of his most famous of the books, today we would call it an extended essay, but then they call it a book. What do you think the most famous of the book in the 8th century Iraq was? The superiority of the black race over the white. 8th century Iraq. There ain't no transatlantic slave trade yet. Just how to get that book. There's another good book on when the Muslims come into northern Africa. And the writer is by a man named Ibn Khaldun. Philosophy of History by Ibn Khaldun. Because you gotta understand Africa. And then check out the Diop. Any and everything that Cheikh Anta Diop wrote in his research. And stop being afraid to study Booker T. Washington. Marcus Garvey was in this country for 3 or 4 years. Booker T. Washington was here all his life. Most of what Marcus Garvey was trying to do was implementing what Booker T. Washington has done. But the white man has made you think Booker was the traitor and Marcus was not. Marcus considered Booker T. Washington his teacher and best friend. Study Tony Martin's writing on the Honorable Messiah Marcus Garvey. And then read Booker T. Washington's own work. And there's a book by Tyene Wright on the Pan-Africanism of Booker T. Washington. And it will blow your mind, but you don't know because the white man has given you a false narrative of black American history. Black man, know thyself, Honorable Elijah Muhammad was telling us, and over the door of every major temple in Egypt, says, man, know thyself. You can't know nothing else until you first know yourself. That starts with your own character, your own personality, your own family, your own community, your own neighborhood, your own region, and then you branch out until you get back to Africa. And then we'll come back to this thing we call spirituality. Spirituality is simply understanding and fully participating in your reality. Spirituality is not separate from your reality. Okay? Your life is what you do to, for, and or against yourself on a minute by minute, second by second, every day. If you learn about who you are, what you do, why you do it, and fully participate to correct that and change that by looking for ways to give you better methodologies to do that, to build a better character, and you find out the tools for your character and the history of your people. It's your ancestors' behavior that is the characters you want to adopt. And you got to bring that to what we got to do in basics. If we get off of the spiritual thing, we want to be priests, we want to be priestesses, and yada, 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 and we don't know how to make bread. How you going to have a revolution? Nobody can even cook. So, okay, do basic first aid. This thing is about providing food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security for yourself and your family. You cannot do that unless you're willing to take control of land, labor, and resources. And you cannot do that unless you're willing to be in charge of the economic, politics, and culture where you live. And you can't do none of those things if you don't know who you are. So you've got to study your history. Stop all these proclamations. We don't know how long we've been on this earth. What we do know in each of these bodies, we get maybe 60-something years on average. to get done whatever you've come to do. And we waste so much of our time, and we get so little done, because we're chasing somebody else's dream, or we're giving our dreams away to somebody else to do for us, instead of taking the dream that you came with and making it your reality. And that starts with knowing your history. So I'm going to shut my mouth, and y'all can ask me any question, and I'll be very honest. I probably won't be able to answer most of them, but I'll still try to see what I can do in answering any of them. Thank you very much.
Yes, say something about you mentioned the white man and how the black man doesn't know his true history, but the white man, doesn't acknowledge his true history and he hides it very well. And the white man actually comes from the black man. The albino was the spawn of the white man, and the albinos were cast out. And when you get the albinos constantly breeding amongst themselves with a limited gene pool, the genes get more recessive and they mutate, and you get blonde hair, blue eyes. You can see it all over the world. Everybody was brown at one point and had what you consider melanin content in their skin. But when the albino came about, and like I said, they kept breeding amongst themselves and produced what you consider the white man, they went around intermixing with people, and we were intermixing with them. That's what created what you see today. The Arab was darker than me. Like you go to northern India right now, they're light skinned. You go to southern India, it's still dark. They cast the dark ones out. That's what they do.
I understand.
Yeah.
I want you to ask me a question. That knowledge has been out here with us for this entire century. We've been having this discussion. And so it's coming new to our young people. But what I always tell our young people, as you get the knowledge, remember you had elders who created that knowledge for you to get. You've got to now move forward. I really don't care if all the white people die today or live for eternity, because I pray I hope they don't live for eternity. And we know they're all going to die off soon enough. What I'm afraid of is that when they die off genetically, they will live on as we. And that's why we need to study our history. Because you're right, they don't know their history, but their elite do. I'm in the Freemasons, Prince Hall. I was, oh, that's Illuminati. You don't know what we talk about with Illuminati. Illuminati is an aspect of some of this stuff. All these organizations are places where bodies of information is being disseminated to a limited amount of people who have agreed to keep a status quo. Okay? And so all that information the brother just gave in the back, that's true. That's what we were teaching in the 60s. That was the basis of the 5% nation, the basis of the Nation of Islam, the basis of other movements. The question comes though, what do we do?
That's right.
We can't just keep going over that same information. What do we do to restore ourselves? So we need to know who we are. But say that again, sir?
Monitor our conduct.
Yes, but let's find out what that conduct should be. Most of us, you are gifted that someone read you so you understand the essence of good conduct. But most of our people were not that gifted. So the reason we created institutions in the first place that we call culture was to teach conduct. But when that got fractured and we no longer had our own institutions, that's when we try to supplement, with these things we call African traditional religions. But even that was suppressed and fractured. So many of the people you see today, I'm going to come to you, who may be priests and priestesses, they're doing as much harm as the Christian people do. And so that's why if you know the history, you recognize what good should come and what bad shouldn't be tolerated in our community. But thank you for that information. A lot of people don't really, I don't know where you got it, but you got it smooth. You got a deep understanding of how that thing took place. And it's still going on.
Cause and effect. I just looked at, I knew genetics and I knew that we were dominant.
Right.
And I just went all the way down to the genes. I started getting into biochemistry and I just really started tracing it down.
Start reading the work of Dr. Richard King.
Richard King?
Richard King,
I will do
who is our master teacher on melanin. And then the work of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Before she wrote the Cress theory, Frances was one of the people with Dr. King teaching us about melanin and how there's one gene. They've isolated, they got a name for it. There's one gene that produces whiteness, that produces the albino.
SLC245.
Go ahead, my man. You got it. So that's the kind of knowledge you got to get out here so people stop the foolishness.
become like you have that understanding through research. And so we need to spread that type of understanding. Sometimes just a nice short piece on the internet. Don't go into no deep dissertation. The people then go off and get acting crazy. Just make it simple. Malcolm said make it plain so they get it and force them to go do some research. And always when you talk, give a book that people can go to that'll help them. That's right. To go. My brother. Thank you very much, young man.
Yeah, just to add on what y'all saying, or veggie bag, you look at it like when you feel dealing with vibration,
You got somebody else to pay. Okay. I do too, so don't worry about
Yeah,
that.
so I'm gonna veggie back on what y'all saying, but when you dealing with vibration, sound, and frequency, and you've been in different areas of the country, different levels, different languages, but when I say negus, nega, nigga, negro, 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 or nigga, what you feel from that? I'm talking about triumphing through history, time, and energy.
But most times we didn't feel
languages.
nothing from it. They've made big of this word more in the last 20 years than it was ever made big of in our history. Because somebody else started the dialogue and not us. Because we've allowed the Jews to set the agenda of our discussion in our community. And we need to start realizing who our enemies are in all aspects of their white presentation. And that white man we call the Jews, one of the dirtiest, most filthiest cracker we've ever had to go up against. And so we need to get clear on that. They killed Tupac. You know, Biggie and Tupac ain't had no fight. I spoke to Tupac the day before he got killed. He knew where it was coming from. Because he was trying to, with Biggie and some others, take over distribution. They set up that risk in the media to create the context in which they were going to destroy them, because distribution of all the money is made in the record industry. They're going to let you sing all you want to sing, dance all you want to dance, own all your labels, own all your companies, as long as they decide whether that record can leave the warehouse or not. So we need to, and then I'll come back to your vibration. Yes, the word, see, but I don't, like when they were having all this discussion about nigger and the N-word, and we spent a couple of almost 5 years in a national discussion about nothing when we should have been figuring out how to open a credit union. Okay? When we should have been figuring out how to get some real estate. Or do like the Black Liberation Movement is doing down in Mississippi, get some land and grow some crop and bring it to market and sell it to the black community. But somebody else set up the dialogue and got us arguing and fussing about something. I could care less what a cracker calls me. I ain't got time for him. We spend too much time on him. I want to spend time only now on how to fix me, fix us, so we can leave for them a world with less contradictions than the one we were in. Because we're going to leave these bodies. We're going to die, people. Them babies going to be behind us. What are we going to leave for them? It has to be land in this time. They've got to have labor that they control. They've got to have resources they control. They got to be able to provide food, clothing, shelter, safety for themselves, and not beg no cracker, no Asian, no Arab, for none of it. Right now, for the last 6 years, we've spent that on an average of $1 trillion a year, and we've given it away to Arabs, Asians, and Latino crackers. They're Latinos who are Africans, but they're Latinos who chose the cracker side. So stay there. If that's where you want to be, you stay there. Okay? And the way you treat my people in the Latin world is as bad as slavery ever was in this world. That's why knowing this history is very important. But what we got to do is figure out, how do we provide that food, clothing, shelter, safety for ourselves and our family? How do we take over the economic politics and culture where we live? And we can't do it saying, well, I don't vote. I'm not participating in the system. Then leave the country, because you are in the system and you are participating. And that's just another little piece of the tool you need to use. You can't stay here and say, I'm not in the system. That's crazy. But there's an airport with a plane and a ticket counter. Go to the other place. And you know what you're going to find when you get there? You better be able to control land, labor, resources, and provide economic politics and culture, or your situation ain't going to be no better in Africa than it is here in America. I own a hotel in Africa, she could tell you, for the last 12 years. Spent $1 million for it, me and my brother-in and sister-in, and we've had to struggle. And part of that struggle led us to establish our own credit union. so that we can then begin to build and develop in Africa for ourselves in the city of Cape Coast in Ghana. So I tell everybody, go to Africa, get in business, buy Africa. Don't let these other people buy it up. We buy it up. The resources are there, the gold, the diamond, the oil, all that stuff is there. But we're not over there trying to get it. But don't give up this. This is yours. You pay for this in blood. Okay? Centuries of blood. We paid for this. I ain't letting the cracker or the Indian or nobody have it. I was here when the so-called India got here. I was here when the so-called cracker got here. And then I bled for 300 years in their presence. I ain't giving them a damn thing. Let them all leave, go back to their caves in whatever mountain in Asia or Europe they came from. But I ain't giving up this here. And we just have to be clear, but in order to keep it and protect ourselves, we don't have to carve up 5-state system. We already own enough land to create our own nation by simply acting like a nation. Okay? We got, most of the black population have left the Northeast. We're back in the South. The majority of African Americans live in the southern states. Okay? But we're not hooked up.
Right.
Even though I've beaten Christianity up, ain't nobody have kiss Christianity the blows that I've given it over the years. And some of you who've seen my tapes know I was particularly vicious when I was younger. I had the locks, but I had the locks back in the 80s when nobody was wearing locks. People were scared to just see me walk down the street. I was cussing out everybody, including Jesus. So folks were like, that nigga is real crazy. But then I realized that part of that was a mistake. Because I'm trying to free black people, and 90% of them are in the church. So how you going to free them if you cuss them out saying ain't going to have nothing to do with you? So we got to change our approach, because that approach didn't work. We got to understand what Christianity is. We got to understand the harm it's doing to our people. But we also got to deal with the reality. That's where most of our people are. That's what have their mind in their clutches. How do we get them out of that? Yes, sir.
I hate to be one of those people that always speak, but from what I know, through this tied into different religions, I try to speak their language, so to speak, get an understanding of what their world is, and try to teach them through that. Because all religions, although they were used improperly, they still could be a beneficial tool if you can understand the teachings out of them. The teaching, you have to understand yourself and look for what corresponds with it in nature. Then the books will reveal itself to you, because all the teachings have something powerful to say if you know how to get the message. The narrative is the cloak to a much deeper meaning, and I know you already know this, brother, because you already mentioned, the initial.
Right.
I know you.
All of these religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, comes out of our African culture.
Exactly. They all
right. But our people don't know that no more. And like you say, we've got to find a way to teach them that. And I think the pathway to teach them that is to somehow get them to engage in teaching history. Because when they begin to study their history, they're going to find what you and I found. See, once you put the person on the path, they'll find what you and I found. Just like there were those before us who found what you and I have found. Because when I read the pyramid text, I see the Genesis story in the Bible. I read the book of the Coming Forth by Day, I see the Genesis story. But guess what? If they read the pyramid text and the Coming Forth by Day, they're going to see the Genesis story too. And the same question we have, what the hell? They're going to ask that question.
People make the connections with the parallels, but most of they argue and be like, this one is right, this one is wrong, this creates divisiveness, and that's why we divide it and we get conflict.
Right. But first you've got to have the information. See, one of the things is a lot of people out there carrying on arguments with no information. You really got to get the information. Most people in the church because they're afraid. And they should be afraid. And that's the only institution that's really available in a large space or numbers that say, I offer you some solitude and some, what's that other word, sanctuary. Even though they don't really offer solitude and sanctuary because they just keep regurgitating. But psychologically, they make you feel that they do. But we have to come up with a way to take away the fear. People run away from us because they're afraid. Because people don't talk openly about voodoo. Like we who are involved, then we trying to keep it a secret. There ain't no damn secret worth keeping. If it's a secret, you shouldn't want to know it. Okay? It's just because anything that should be known should be spoken out in the open. That's why I explain these necklaces. I wear them everywhere I go. Someone want to know about them, I'm going to have a conversation. You wear your cross. You know what I'm saying? You wear your star and your crescent. Right? So I'm going to wear mine, and I'm going to explain it. And you ain't going to back me up, because I ain't ashamed or scared of nothing. Because nobody can kill me until killing won't be dead, and nobody can make me live if killing won't be dead. It's the laws of nature, the laws of nature. And you're very well read. And so you got a mission. When one is given knowledge like you got, your job is to teach others the best you can. You know, go and make sure you're moving beyond just you and your knowing. Find ways to share that information in easy, kind of knowable venues so others can learn from you. Because people like me at 73, how many more years I got? Maybe 10? If I'm lucky. I'd love to have 30 more, but I ain't stupid, you know what I'm saying? All the good beer I was drinking, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna catch up with a brother somewhere along this line. You know? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I read somewhere that curses or bad habits from previous generations can carry on to your generation and into the future generation. How do you stop that? Like, how do you
Yes.
or combat
First,
that?
change your language.
That's right.
Like using the term curse.
Okay.
If it's like the human body, if you eat the wrong food, right, then that wrong food will be passed on to that baby. If you contain the wrong thought construction, that thought construction will be passed on to the baby. That's what we're talking about. If you live within a cultural context that you bring your children into and is negative and anti them and abusive, then you've passed all that on. You have to change who you are in order to change who they're going to be. You know? And what they do with religion, since religion for the most part in the West was designed to dominate people, to scare people. So you find if you really read in the Bible, you won't find the devil anywhere in there. You won't even find hell anywhere in there. Right? But they made that up and they made you think it's there and they made you scared. If I don't go along with what he's saying, I'm going to hell. The devil going to get me. And in the literature, because all this literature they take from Africa, go back to the Nicene Conference, the Conference of Trent, and all the conferences they used to extract bits about knowledge and create the document they call the Bible. And then later out of that document comes the Quran. And before that document, they had the Torah. And it's just a body of information. You find all that information in ancient Egypt, but you'll also find all that information in ancient Karma, Sudan, which existed before Egypt. You find all that information in the ancient Congo, which existed before Sudan. So it's a body of knowledge that our people understand on how to live in harmony and balance in the world. But by the time you get to the white man, he's a pervert already. He's a genetically deficient being, as the brother was saying. So if I'm genetically incapable of containing spirit, what do I have to do? Create a system where having spirit isn't necessary. So he creates a religion. It doesn't rely on spiritual intelligence. It relies on 1, 2, 3 step, 1, 2, 3 step, turn right, turn left, do this, and then you're supposed to be cool with God. When I was Muslim, I'm praying 5 times a day. I was as stupid as can be. I'm praying, Allahu Akbar, and I go through my prayers. That's the time I don't know what the hell I'm saying.
It's empty.
First of all, I'm praying in another language, which is not the language I speak every day. So how am I conveying the vibratory thoughts to my system? But not to beat up on Islam, ain't none of them. Each one is an attempt by another group to take the body wisdom that is African and adapt it to their situation using their cultural normative. That's all it is. So let's take that same body of wisdom and adapt it to the African American needs. That's what Elijah Muhammad was trying to do, but he took the label of Islam too far in it. Same thing, Father Divine and Noble Drew Ali with the Morris. They were trying to take the body of wisdom, which most of them learned through Freemasonry, and bring it back into the black community and use it to develop that community. But they kept bringing the baggage of Europe with them.
Right.
You see? And we got to drop the European baggage, you know, and just go black.
Right.
Be black, go black, think black, act black, smell black, just go black. And that's hard because people think they're going to be insecure. They ain't got nothing to hold on to, and they've been holding on to things. But the things weren't saving them. They was just under the illusion that something was keeping them afloat while they were even drowning. Let's find ourselves.
I guess what you just said, I'm trying to understand, it seemed like just about any group or organization or whatever that we are in, we, for the most part, want to include everybody. I'm trying to, I guess I don't get it, why we keep wanting to include everyone. I don't want to name, I don't want to name the group, but a group came here a few weeks ago or last month, and at first in the interview, it was black this, black this, black this, black this, and then just all of a sudden, well, it's not about being black. We want to include everybody.
Well, when somebody say that, leave them alone.
Right. I do. I'm just trying to understand
why we are afraid. We don't know any better because we don't have the knowledge of who we are. The brother was saying how the white man, like my wife's mom, is from India. She's black as your shoe. Just had her birthday last week. She's turned 93. And so I'm very versed in that culture. After 47 years being married to the craziest woman in the world, the most beautiful woman in the world, you see my queen. And she bore all them children that we got. And if anybody ever tell her I said she's the craziest woman in the world, I may not have a home to go back to. But see my baby, and she know after 47 years I love her as much as I did the day I met her. When you know yourself, you don't do that. If somebody raped you, and I'll use the rape case because I had a child who was raped by her stepfather, and it went on for 5 years. And her mother knew about it and didn't stop it. I found out about it when I went to, they would never let me bring her with me. I could only go to their place and visit. And I never wondered why they would never let me visit alone. There always had to be a few other children with her, and that was to keep the child from talking. But I didn't have, back then I didn't have the faintest thought that a black man would do this to a black child. Right? And to this day, me and my child have a problem because that man was a distant cousin whose name was James Small, with an A in initial. So I remember when I finally got away from there, and she told me what happened because she had run away, getting out of high school, and I finally found her out in Texas and told her to come home. I went out to Texas. I thought it was something bad, so I went out there with guns, I was brothers. And then I found out that the boy she was with was one of my friend's son. And they really left me some responsibility, but let her come home to me. I'll pay all the expenses, but take a week and then come home. And because she came home and 2 days after, we sitting on the stoop in Harlem, and she tells me about being raped. First I thought it was like she was lying because she ran away. And then after I listened and saw this child, I really sounds telling the truth. So, I saddled up, buckled up, lined up, gunned up, went to South Carolina to deal with it. The word got out that I'm coming. I was going to have her killed. And so I had to wait for them, and she and me rolled up in the rented car. My family gets the word from another family member whose house I stopped at to rest the night before. So they surrounded his house already, ran him out the back door in the woods and stuff, and begged me not to do this thing. And their justification was like, we'll handle it. My people was capable of handling it, because I told you what they do on the roof of the child. And so they handled it. And nobody would want to like those people I had. They're both dead now. But trying to heal my child now, it's taken a lot of years. And I remember one of the things she told me that, Daddy, I always dreamed that you were going to come and rescue me, and you never came. No matter how good a daddy I am, I'm the man that never rescued you. So I want to come back to your question, because at first when she told me the story of her rape and the things he said, and how then she had to make accommodation for it, because it was going to happen to anyone that was nobody to protect her. And so that's what a lot of our people out here do. They think, because they don't know themselves, they don't know their history, they don't know our triumphs all through time, that they think they can't make it without these people. They think they got to include these people, even though these people are the very poison that got us in trouble within them. And so, but when you begin to learn your history, You can't learn about Harriet Tubman without seeing inner strength. Then one lady, I get away from slavery. And I could go about my business. I could be a wealthy woman. I could say, I'm good to go. But I spend my entire life going back in the danger of slavery and pulling others out. Who got a hero greater than that? Who got a model greater than that? Then afterwards, she fights in the Civil War. The president didn't want to give her a pension.
That's right.
But she didn't care. She went and opened an orphanage for elderly people up in upstate New York and for homeless children. Hardly no money. And those are the days she did, those are the days she died. Now that's a model in courage. That's a model in dedication. That's a model in love. When you know your history and you got those kinds of models, then you don't make stupid statements like these people are friends. Because history will tell you, these people ain't your friends. There's a good book I recommend for everybody. It's called Plural But Equal by Dr. Harold Cruz. Plural But Equal by Dr. Harold Cruz. And it's an analysis of the civil rights movement and who is our friends and who is our enemies. And you're going to get a surprise. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was listening to things you were saying. And now I'm at the age now of 71, and I've been around the world 2 or 3 times, took everybody there once. And everywhere I went, there was black people that were there all the time. Black Vietnamese, black Japanese, black Filipinos, everywhere. And you talked about the Ice Age. The continents were combined.
Yeah.
And people were walking.
Yeah.
And when the Ice Age came, people got trapped
Cut off.
outside.
Yeah.
So people, we were already here.
Yeah.
We were already everywhere.
Everywhere.
And when I went in service, I'm in the norm, and we speaking about the N-word, people didn't use it.
Right.
We didn't use it.
And no white boys had the testicles. That's right.
But
But
it was
they,
a magic word.
yeah. It
And that
would
was
be
the way
crazy.
they could get you killed,
That's right.
and nobody know how you died.
I was up on manslaughter charge at Guantanamo Bay because somebody used that word and died.
Right. And now when I come back here, the things were going on that were near and dear to my heart. After knowing that all these were black people, and we are an African people. So I hooked up with the Panthers. I was up there with you, but I was in Boston, all around Mattapan.
Yeah, we should know each other. I helped work with Cummings, the city council, the brothers and sisters out of jail. We did all that meeting in Ella's living room. But our little sister name was the captain, Bebe Dunn. I don't know if you remember Sister Bebe.
Yeah.
She was one of the first women captains up there in Boston.
Yeah. Now I stayed up there until like 69. Then I came back. Well, while I was there, I was recruiting. I was in the Navy, but I was taking sailors to Boston and taking them back when we joined the Panthers. That's what we were doing. When I came back here, I couldn't find no Panthers, so I ran around trying to get people to come together as African people. Now I knew about Ron Karanga back in the day. You know, the things that he had done and things, blah, 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 didn't want to identify.
Well, some things they said he did. He didn't do a lot of the things they
Right,
said.
right. I didn't want to identify with Kwanzaa. But then when I did finally get into Kwanzaa, I found out that this is a tool that we as African people over here in America can use. With that African pledge, it says all right there. We are an African people. We remember the humanity, glory, and sufferings of our ancestors and honor the struggle of our elders. And now we're talking about living that African that we are. And as the sister was saying, we let everyone into our organization. We don't let nobody. We had one sister that left all the white folk. You know, and he shouldn't have been there. But you know, we are who we are. We are the first people here on earth.
Yes, sir.
And I was part of an organization, well, I still follow them. that say freedom in my time, Uhuru. In my time.
Yeah, I was hanging out down in Florida.
Yeah.
Good taste.
Yeah. Okay. They're around the same place.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's something. Right now, I am the president of Mid-South Conference. That's right here in Memphis. And we try to teach people about who they are. To, get this history. Read the books by people.
Yes.
Dr. Dan, Sheikh Hunter Sharp, and our historians, they go way back.
Yes,
They tell us who we are. But then you have people, like someone mentioned a thing about people that want to tell you, like, we're this, we're that. Yeah, we just had a parade here. We have the Heritage Classic Parade here every year. And now the Hebrew Israelites will start posting up at a certain position on Park Avenue. As soon as the Kwanzaa floats get there, they start talking, my name, no Africans, weird business.
Like that said, like out here, y'all know what we are.
Well,
here's
here's what I suggest. Hold your thought too. When it comes, like I tell the brothers who are Hebrews, like a lot of them, my comrades and some of my friends, and they have very different organizations. Some take certain stances, some take stances that say we are an African people and with us. I'm saying you're only an airplane ticket away from Tel Aviv. So why give me a headache? Get on the plane. God gave you that promised land. Get on the plane. Go to the promised land. Leave me alone. I'll take Africa any day. You don't want to be here? Fine. You get on the plane. Buy the ticket to Tel Aviv, Israel. Get on El Al. Go home. You say that's yours. Why are you here messing with me? And then there's no excuse. So if you tell me you're the Hebrew Israelite and God gave you that land over there as a promise, what you doing here? Buy an airplane ticket, go.
That's right.
They misunderstand the scriptures. I know a lot of brothers like that.
I understand that they misunderstand, but if you're in the way of a people's struggle for freedom, then I'm going to give you an alternative to get out the way so there's no conflict as we struggle for our freedom. Because even the documents, first of all, we give too much credence to the Torah, the Quran, and the Bible. They're not worthy of the credence we give to them. That's somebody else's attempt to take our history and call it theirs. Let them take it. Go. Leave me with it.
They try to make spiritual
I got enough.
tangible. You can't get it.
Right. I've got enough history to tell me who I am. Just like the story of Dr. Maulana, if you allow me, but don't move your thought, because I want to meet you now. So, Dr. Maulana was one of the leading black nationalist culturalists of the 60s. The Jewish Marxist left wanted to destroy the black nationalist culturists because they understand culture is the greatest weapon a people have.
That's right.
Okay? If you don't understand that culture is your greatest weapon, you will not win your wars. Culture isn't your only weapon, it is just your greatest weapon. So the Jews wanted to use Marxism as the ideological tool of the African Americans to help destabilize the other white Americans who they were fighting against. Without us coming out in the end being who we needed to be. So the attack on Dr. Garanga was one of those things. He wasn't the only one. That's when the negative sounding term of cultural nationalists became the tongue. And we saw how it led even in the Black Panther Party when the rift became to the East Coast and the West Coast, because I was on the 125th Street when Brother West got shot down and Brother Mark was left pistol whipped to death. I was in Zayd Shakur's office up in the Bronx, the Mamba Shakur, the other brother office down in Harlem, when Eldridge was broadcasting from Algeria as the rift was revving up between the West Coast, where they were running that whole thing, remember, the lumpen proletariats versus this other whole thing. And that was of the people, CPUSA, but everybody knew on our side that they were the CIA, the most infiltrated Marxist organization in the country. Yet they were undergirding financially a lot of things the West Coast Party was doing, because that was that filthy Jewish hand that we didn't see until it was too late and all our great young people were killed off. But God bless you. I knew them Panthers in Boston. Y'all were straight up soldiers. I was also in the Navy. USS Man, the DD-9 post. If you can remember that shit, calm dash run forward. It's just like it will only be rain. Right? But go ahead and finish some of the conversation, because it comes back to what you're saying. We've got to study our history. We've got to know ourselves. We have to learn respect for ourselves. We have to learn reverence for our ancestors. We have to learn that we are not, the kids are not our future. We are the children's future. And you were saying that when I was down here a couple of weeks ago. We are their future. They will be their children's future. And if we think like that, we stop living for ourselves and live only for them. And the ego won't have no place to dwell. Arrogance won't have no place to dwell. And that's part of our spiritual cultural system. Asa Hilliard, who I love, and I know most of y'all know who Dr. Hilliard was, and I'm going to take brother and sister. Before Asa died, about a month before he died, we were in Kansas City, and Wade Nobles and myself would go to HEA to instruct the black teachers at the African Standard School. And Asa, we were sitting in the practice and setting up our PowerPoint. And it was Asa that was teaching us PowerPoint, because he got into it early. But he was acting different. No, he looked healthy and strong, right? But he was just moving different. So I said, Asa, what's the matter? He said, oh, nothing. I said, no, but there's something wrong. You ain't your whole self. And he says, Brother Small, he said, we're just spirits in transition. I thought that came out of nowhere. I had never heard the term used before. We're spirits in transition. So I went to Wade, Dr. Wade Nobles, to Wade. He said we're spirits in transition. When I asked him what was wrong, I said, have you spoken to you? Wade said no, so we went back to him and said, what's up? He said, well, when we get to the hotel, I'll sit and talk with y'all. But when we got to the hotel, he said he wanted to go and rest for a while. Then he would get up and come to the lobby and talk to us, but he never got up in his plane left before us. And I wouldn't see him again for another month and a half, and I'd see him in the marketplace in Ghana with his granddaughter as he was getting ready to leave Ghana, come back to pick up his wife, and go to Kemet where he passed away. But the last thing he gave me, he said, Brother Small, tell the people, if we don't win the culture war, the economic and the political war will not matter. I said, whoa. That was his last statement. If we don't win the cultural war, the economic and the political war will not matter. And he's right. We already one of the richest black people in the world. We've been spending $1 trillion a year as surplus money for the last 6 years. Okay? You know? So
what happened then? I remember when he passed, did someone get to him? They knew that he was that deep into the culture?
No one really knows whether, Bubba was, some say he had malaria and didn't attend it early enough. But he didn't have malaria when he spoke to me, and I knew something was wrong. Sometimes the time comes and you got to leave, and some people just leave. Bubba, the other man that told me the same thing, y'all know Bubba Ishinge? Bubba Ishinge, his last words to me was, win the culture war. And he passed away 2 months later in Gambia, and the last note he left was have Brother Small come and preside over my funeral. And I went to Gambia and presided over his funeral with Ife Yemen out of Nigeria. So sometimes people know they're leaving, and then they talk to some of us before they leave. They know they're leaving. His work was probably done, but his work is useless if you don't read the books that he left for us. He left some extraordinary documents, because that was a brilliant brother, basically.
You said something that got my attention when you first started. When you were saying we are the ancestors. And I've always felt that, but had never put it in that context. We are.
Yes, sir.
And it's up to us to carry this power.
That's right. And we pass the ball to them little ones right there.
We have all these things that are keeping us apart. Religion, money, neighborhood, women, cars, whatever it is, that's keeping us apart. The cultural thing is gone.
Yes.
As long as you keep that cultural thing and remember the ancestors, because that means you remember yourself and you want to do something for your people.
That's right.
While you are here. You know, when you wait until you become
Right.
what the youngsters will call you after you're gone, an ancestor.
Right.
You do that while you're here.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, do what you can in the way that you can.
Right.
I guess I would say by any means necessary.
I have my enemies necessary t-shirt on all day today. And that's what that young brother was saying. Malcolm, if you just study Malcolm, forget about the white man projection of him on the screen doing this. Study the things he said in those speeches. And he was saying exactly what you just said. When they asked him, they said, what's your political philosophy? He didn't say I'm a Muslim. He said, I'm a black nationalist freedom fighter. He said that a week before he died. People thought, oh, he was al-Hajj, Malik, al-Shabazz, Muslim. He said, I'm a black nationalist freedom fighter a week before he died. And I think his word, it gives me more clarity what he meant than anybody's interpretation. Oh, sis.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
it's an honor to, as we would say, squat under the elders and learn. And I have, one of the first times I heard you speak was in watching the videos that the brother put out.
Mm-hmm.
And your integrity stood out. And I say that not in saying anything negative about the others in the videos, you know, the one in which I speak, but your integrity and your knowledge. And then as I began to research and find out more about you and see you being interviewed by the brother in DC and all of that, I became more and more impressed, and so I wanted to be here, and I'm so glad that I am here, and it's an honor. And so what I want to say is two things. I want to say that in terms of what Spirit says to me in terms of us moving forward as a people is that I don't like when we gather and just focus on problems, because we all know the problems. And so I have enjoyed hearing the history and your experiences. It's motivating, and it's sharing knowledge that that I didn't know, and especially hearing about your experiences overseas and all of that. And so I always try to ask people to let me know the problems. We even really have the solutions, because our ancestors, Amos Wilson, so many of us have just left marching orders for us. And pick one and just go do that, but what is it that you're doing? And so I like to focus on solutions, and my areas of interest are education and economics. And I try to just remind us while we haven't, and I don't mean here tonight, of course, because this is good information and this is inspiring to us, all of us, I'm sure. But generally, there's so much argument in those of us who are in the cultural community, whatever that might mean to different people, that I try to say, well, it's like you're in a boat and we see there's a hole in the boat and we're having useless conversation while the water is coming into the boat. And so therefore, the only conversation black folks really need to be having is not what's going on in Washington and Trump and the Supreme Court judge, all of this, but what are we going to do to plug up this hole? Mm-hmm. And the solution, as you talked about, and this was reaffirming to me when you said about Bobby Hill, you're saying about the culture. Because my school that I had was called the Cultural Connection. And I came to that name from Baba, okay, his name's gonna come to me in a minute. But he had the Correction Connection, so you know who I'm talking about. And I sold his products back in the day at the Correction Connection. And when I began my school, I said, oh, it'll be the Cultural Connection, because we need to get back to our culture. We need to do the same culture. So that was a nod, an affirmative nod to me when you brought that up, because I did not know that about Baba Hill. I have been working on the Transatlantic Slave Project that was a part of Northeastern Illinois University in the Carruthers Center. Dr. Worrell, I told him that you were here. He told me to give you a greeting and all of that as well. And that brought me to looking at the suggestions because Illinois is one of the few places that actually passed it as a state. H.R. 40 has been passed in Illinois, 3 or 4 other states since then. And so my research is about looking at textbooks, high school textbooks, history textbooks, and how they teach about the enslavement of Africans, and writing what I think about that. And in that process, I created a way to, a rubric to look at what was being taught by using African words and symbols to judge what was being said. But anyway, so being here tonight has been an affirmative nod. I'm in the process of reopening my school after trying to be a part of the system. We have a big problem here in Memphis. I suppose it might be nationwide, where the children are not learning to read
It's nationwide
at all. And after going in and trying to be a part of the system, thinking I might help in that way, and seeing that you really cannot work in that way and keep your job. And so after 30 days, I left. And it was a renewal of spirit. I had been feeling so depressed since I had been home. And once I made that decision to go and do what I was put here to do in the first place, came back to myself, because I think I had left myself. That happened. And so now having the opportunity, I'm saying all that to say, so having the opportunity to be here, I almost missed it because I didn't realize it was tonight, but I'm glad that I did, and it's been a affirmative nod. And I will, with your permission, be in touch with you because you may have ideas and things to share. But it's my goal to have after-school programs called Kwanzaa clubs because I think the principals are worthy of being taught year-round.
And that was the intent. The intent was to be taught and live year-round.
Year-round, not just
have a compilation of all of the cultures of Africa and its similarities.
Because we have gotten away from it so much. And when I look at, I wish I could think of the name of it, Derek Bell's book, Faces at the Bottom of the Well, in one of the chapters he talks about what if people should decide, black people should decide, and I'm asking this question, if we had the opportunity to say that discrimination was legal, businesses could discriminate, white businesses, all they had to do was pay money that would go to the black community, and they could put a sign up in their window saying, we don't serve black people. And that money that they pay for this license to discriminate would go to the black community, which would allow us to be able to have the funds to open our own businesses, etc. So when I taught at the Carruthers Center and we discussed that question, it was very interesting how so many people felt like, no, it wouldn't work because black people would still be upset because they so want to, they would never vote for it because they so want to be with white people, with Europeans.
And they do it anyway.
Exactly. Well, they do, but they don't. You know what I'm saying? In other words, I think it's a good idea because we could get the money that would allow us to da-da-da. But it was interesting to me, and I'm saying this as it relates to culture, how removed we are from our culture, that we don't want to embrace it. We don't want that. And that's the piece, and that's tied to our self-esteem. It's tied to why the children can't. One of the reasons why the children can't read, etc.
Because one of the big things is we don't understand what culture is. We think culture is dancing. Dancing is a tool of culture. Singing is a tool of culture. Playing an instrument is a tool of culture. Theater is a tool of culture. Culture is those sets of principles and ideas we see in the Nguzo Saba. That's the culture. Now the method for teaching that, you may use any instrument you have. Dancing, theater, singing, instrument, storytelling. Those are methodologies of teaching culture, but culture is the philosophical undergirding of your understanding of your ancestors' experience in this universe up to that point.
African worldview. That's what we got to get back to Jacob Carruthers. African
worldview. Dr. Jake.
And all that. And it's so important. So I'm honored to be here.
Great master teacher.
And the thing that you just said about the culture, if you look at it, all of the things that Europeans make money off come from the culture.
Everybody sells their culture.
They're great storytellers, they're good singers or they're dancers. It's something that comes from our culture.
Yeah.
They turn our culture around and make us hate it, and they make money.
And they make money. Let's get our brother right here. Yes.
First of all, Dr. Small, I just want to say peace and blessings unto you.
Thank you, sir. Peace and blessings to you.
I'll be brief in my question. I see that we have a lot of things in common. I was in the Navy. I'm also in Freemasonry, and that's where my question comes from. Could you expand on the Kemetic origins of Masonry, if you would, please?
Mm-hmm.
Because we hear about the English a lot.
Right.
And
Well, I'm just to identify myself to you. I'm Cornerstone 37.
yes, sir.
Of the USA Grand Lodge. But I'm also the high priest of the Sarah, that's this, and the craft of Amun-Ra, at the shrine of Nappi. That's the ancient Kemetic part of the system, out of which what we do in the Western world comes out of. And that's a mere fragment. I do a piece, and it's online. I did it on Sonetta, Freemasonry, Africa's Black China. So if you can go and look at that piece. I didn't put too much out there because the brothers asked me. I went to the elders and said, listen, here's what I want to do. And it said, look small, you know what you want. Just don't give them everything. But they watched it and they liked it. And they thought it was a general body of knowledge. It's enough there to make your mind see. Masonry is simply about character building. It's simply about teaching the essence and value of culture. That's what it is. It was the white man's methodology for civilizing himself and the ruling elite that would guide his people. But what it is the basic philosophical and ideological tools for building good character. When you come into Masonry, they say, well, why do you want to come? It says, I'm seeking greater light. Meaning I'm seeking better information on how to be a human being. And the whole process of Masonry is to teach you to be a better human being. But it's like communications. You all may not know what communications, but we do. What happens in the lodge when we go there on Monday or whatever night we go. It has a redundancy because you do the same things over and over and over and over again. But the redundancy is there to make those who are not strong leave. Okay? To make them leave. And then the others gets passed on up to this greater knowledge. So that pool of people who have this knowledge now beholding to that system and not beholding to humanity. And so they get to understand that this is about building your character. This is about preparing yourself for death. This is about bringing yourself closer to the God character, God consciousness. All of it you see in ancient Egypt. If you just go to the average book of Kemet, you see the pharaohs wearing an apron that looks like it's pointed. Those are the Masonic aprons. You see some of them with the sun and the moon on it, the pharaohs. Looks just like the one we wear in the Grand Lodges today in America. You even see the pharaohs standing in the Grand East, all right, with the wardens on either side of them. I mean, the whole system, I've got it all on my tape, so look at Sonetta, African Freemasonry, Africa's Black Child. Okay. So I think the title of it. And I think you get a lot. I'll give you my card before you leave, we can communicate. And I can give you other things. Y'all got to appreciate there's some things I cannot talk out in the open because I took an oath not to, and it'd be totally disrespectful to do that, which I would share. But I can tell you the general proposition. Masonry is simply a way that the white society has used to civilize their elite and their ruling caste. Okay? And all of it is African knowledge. The same knowledge that was once our general culture, which they now hide from us. And that's the knowledge we got to get back to. But it's nothing complex. It's just how to live as a human being in harmony with other human beings and nature. That's the key to it. Yes?
Okay, I have two questions.
Make sure.
Yeah. It's out. Get in it.
Alright. So is it possible when trying to connect to these different orations that you reach lower level spirits or energies that might, Yeah, maybe it's too big.
Stop worrying about them. Somebody not messing with your head. You should stop worrying about them lower levels and all that
But
stuff.
how do you know the difference? Like, how do
Don't worry about the difference. Just search for the way up. I don't care how deep the well is, I'm trying to climb the hell up out of it. Search for the way up. If you spend too much time looking back down to see how deep that well is, we never get down. Search for the way up. And start what we told you to start. Start with history. And what Bubba brought up, which I said when we were talking about Kwanzaa today, that we would do exactly what Bubba was explaining tonight. Yeah, we were saying that a couple hours earlier. Kwanzaa is a system of the African culture that Malana and the people and brothers in us have brought to us. Any organization and any religion can use it. Oh, thank you, baby. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Study Kwanzaa. Study the Nguzo Saba. Then study our basic history. A good history book for African Americans is by LeRon Bennett, The Shaping of Black America. I think he did that one in the 70s. But it is an excellent document on our history. Of course, Before the Mayflower is also a must, especially the revised version. Learn the basic African American history so that when we frame our reality, it's based on truth. I love the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garba, but he's not the father of the African movement. And when you say that, you alter your history. If you want to deal with back the African movement, you're looking for a father of it, you got to go to Martin Delany and Paul Cuffey. And most of us don't know who Paul Cuffey is or who Martin Delany is. Before Marcus Garvey was born, we African Americans had already established Sierra Leone and Liberia. They tell us about Liberia, but they don't tell us we also established Sierra Leone. We were the only, doing slavery in Trinidad, the African Americans fought, but the British was the only free black population in Trinidad, and the area of Trinidad where they lived is still considered a very sacred place because they still left the streets named after them, and they did everything they could do to fight to get our other brothers in Trinidad free from slavery, from the very British who had brought them there for sanctuary. So we've got to that's why history is just so neat to study. And on the Caribbean, one of the best historical documents available today is a History of the Caribbean by Dr. Tony Martin. History of the Caribbean by Dr. Tony Martin. And then we have to restudy Mr. Booker T. Washington. We've allowed him to drop between the cracks because the cracker was scared of Booker. Because what was Booker saying? Booker was saying what we now call black nationalism. Own some land, feed yourself, build for yourself, have all the skills of society need to develop your community and yourself. We're now saying doing that, and we threw it out with the bathwater because that's how they tricked us. They had us chasing Marx and Lenin when we should have been chasing Harriet and Booker. You know? And so, and you'll find that the fight they claim existed between Du Bois and Booker did not exist at that level. They had a little rift, but those men got over that rift. Okay? When Booker T. Washington, when W. Du Bois went to England to set up the first Pan-African Conference, guess who was his accompanying companion? Booker Telephera Washington. When he came back to America after setting up the plans for that, which Booker helped him put together, guess who financed all of his publicity to promote it? Booker Telephera Washington. How come that's not in our general historical understanding of all that? And this Andy Thompson that brought me to this stage. So that Andy was good on this stuff. That's another brother y'all got to study, Dr. Andy Thompson. So learn the basic history of African America. Learn the story of how Martin Delany coming up, being a major in the Civil War, the Northern Army in the Civil War, coming out and going to Harvard, earning a doctorate degree, him and 3 other black brothers. And 4 days before they went to graduate from Harvard, the cracker men said, we're not going to march with no niggas. And so Harvard kicked him out 4 days before graduation. But they were already doctors, and he became a very powerful doctor in South Carolina. And he couldn't go back to the project he had started, so he began to be the biggest promoter and recruiter to get brothers and sisters to sell what they had here and move to Liberia. And don't let anybody give you this myth about the Amero-Liberia. That's a lie, it's a myth, okay? Because Liberia was bought by the enslaved Africans from here. They bought that land with their money. They sold their cows and their mule and their horses and their land and their houses and they bought that land, which they shouldn't have bought, because we should have been given land upon our return, because it was our land to start with. And they engaged in the first war with some of the indigenous people who were there, because those people were still engaged in the slave trade, and they said, this ain't gonna happen. Slave trade will stop right now, right here. So let nobody give you no false history about no Merrill Liberian. The only Liberian is an Merrill Liberian, if you want to put it in that context. But they wanted to take Liberia away when they had Samuel Doe in the 1970s, overthrow the government, and carried out a genocide, killing off almost all of the families of the formerly enslaved Africans who settled Liberia, and they hid that under the rock. They sacked the Prince Hall Lodge and burnt it to the ground, and they sacked the EME headquarters and burnt it to the ground. They kept all under the wraps under the ground. It wasn't until Charles Taylor, who was from the family of the former enslaved people, took the government back, and then they went after him and got that boy in prison when he shouldn't have been in prison one day. But we need to study history and know the true story so we can tell our children how to avoid the pitfalls. See, the Jews, when they started the NACP, along with the Irish comrades, because we didn't start it, we had a movement called the Afro-American League, founded in 1892 by a guy named T. Thomas Fortune, who was one of Booker T. Washington's main friend. But he didn't start the Afro-American League. It was a group of black women who had something called the Afro-American Council in 1891 that helped him hook that thing up. Well, the Afro-American League becomes the Niagara movement. You had Ivy Wells in it, Booker T. Washington in it, you had T. Thomas Fortune in it, Du Bois, all of them was a part of the Niagara movement, and somebody split that movement when they came into money. You understand? And created the NACP. That was the Jews and the Irish, and ain't nothing been the same in our movement since. That's when we started cutting our beards, cutting off our afro, calling ourselves colored. Because before that we called ourselves Sudanese, Africa, and African America in the 1890s. Yes. But then somebody came with another agenda. And let me just give you the impetus for the Jews, now I'm going to sit to an end. Study the story of this Jewish guy named Frank in 1908 and 1907, who was arrested in Georgia for raping a young white girl in a warehouse. He was an insurance salesman. Now that's not unusual that the Klan would take him out of jail and lynch him. But what was unusual, there was a black caretaker who worked in the warehouse, and they chose the Jewish traveling salesman to kill over the black salesman, scared the hell out of the Jews in America.
What's it again now?
His name was Frank. A Jewish man named Frank. I forgot the first name. He was a salesman, insurance salesman, somewhere down in Georgia. In a warehouse, a white girl was raped and killed. The caretaker of the warehouse was a black man. One would think, under normal circumstances, they'd take the brother out and lynch him, right? That ain't what happened. They arrested this Jewish dude because he was more hated and feared than we were. Right? And they put him in jail, and the Klan took him out of jail and lynched him. That's when the Jews created the Anti-Defamation League. And then a few months later, the NACP to be the cannon fodder for the interest of the Anti-Defamation League. And we've been that ever since. When black folks got enough strength in the 70s or 80s to take control of the NACP, what was the first thing the Jews do? They broke away and took the legal arm and called it the Greenberg Law Center away from the NACP. The legal aspect was the only teeth the NACP had. So they said, the black will take over leadership, then we will take away the only weapon you got. So thank you all. It's late, so let me talk to your ears. I did bring some tapes with me. There's one young lady you should think about if you have the money. It's called Out of Darkness. How many people got Out of Darkness?
Out of Darkness. Even Omar Johnson?
No.
No. With the kid.
It's myself and a bunch of others. Omar, I don't think Omar's in this. Sabir Bey. He's my Morris brother. Me and Sabir, we work together. We fight all the time with his mother's son. And Brother Kaba, Joy DeGraff, and a number of others. It's 3 hours long. It's a dynamic take on our history. It has some of the best graphics you'll ever see, much better than any that we've done in Hidden Colors. Brother named Christopher Amadeus did the editing. It's just extraordinary. Then I have 1804. which is also an extraordinary piece that Tariq Nasheed did. Sir?
You have one with you now?
Yes, sir. Someplace.
Mr. Smiles, I heard you also mention it's a book I haven't got to. It's called The Iceman Heritage. I haven't.
Say it again?
The Iceman Heritage. I heard you mention that one on one of the.
That's a book we should all read. If you brought one, let me take one this down. They're all, both 20. That Out of Darkness piece, which is 3 hours, is just extraordinary just for the historical graphics. And we cover, I guess, close to 2,000 years in that piece. And for those who've seen, how many people saw 1804?
I have
You know, that 1804 is it's the best piece ever done in the Haitian Revolution. You won't get any better. And it's about 10 of us that's working on that one. We got a new one coming out from Amadeus and us, and that's called Heavy is the Crown. And that's dealing totally with spirituality. And I sold out of them what I consider my favorites, but if you go online, you can get it. It's called Ancestral Voices. It's produced in the UK, but it's priests from Brazil, from Nigeria, from Cuba, from South Africa, from the Congo, myself, Camille Yabo, Baina Bello from Haiti, and all of us, and Malidoma Some's wife, just before she passed, Max Pouvoir was the head of all Voodoo in Haiti before Max passed. And we're all talking about what African spirituality is. And we all being filmed at different times in different places, and everybody comes to the same conclusion. It will blow your mind. Even though we all come from different pathways, but they're right. It's called Ancestral Voices. So just Google it, and you can order it online. But some of the material are well researched, well done, by good brothers and sisters who have really been studying. And I always tell people, don't buy it, just set it on the shelf. Have, at least in your house, 2 hours set aside a week just to watch one of these videos with your family. Turn everything else off, and this on Thursday night at 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, this is what we do. And then discuss it next week, discuss it, take notes. And if you do this long enough, you will see the transformation in your own family. Because the thing why many of our families fight us when they see us go in this direction, because they don't have the information. But we make the assumption because we got it, they should have it. No, we had to struggle. Somebody had to beat us in the head, you know what I'm saying, for us to get it. And so let's not be so hard on our families who don't understand us. Let's find all kinds of innovative ways to trick them to get to this information. Once they get it, they'll do the same thing to their minds that is done to your mind. Oh, good young kid. He's going to grandma here. So that's my presentation. I'm glad I could come with my 2 children tonight and the family for the launching of their new store and to talk to their ancestors and to offer blessings. And thank you for coming to participate in their launching of the store. These are 2 of the most correct African young people you ever want to meet. And they practice this correctness in Africa, even though we suffer sometimes, we correct, and they practice this correctness here. And we know he's a great martial arts teacher that people want to learn the arts. He's an extraordinary master. And just do everything you can to tell friends and family to come and support this business that we should do for ourselves instead of begging others for these things. And we should never get our nails done, haircuts, or bar parties from anybody who's not us. Period. No excuse about it. I'd rather walk 2 miles to get what I need or do without it if it's not available. It's not an essential that I can do. And if we practice what we preach, the world around us will slowly begin to change, but it surely will change. So thank you again very much.
Straight hairs will be trying to wear afros, and afros will be trying to straighten their hair. When the revolution comes, Jesus will be trying to catch the first gypsy cab out of Harlem and Orange Man. When the revolution comes, you will not be able to turn us in, turn us over, or sell us out when the revolution comes.
When the revolution comes, do you think you will be sitting on your couch watching it live on your TV? Some of us will probably run and crawl up into a bunker, wishing it would go back to how it used to be. Black men will join up with their sons. There'll be no pistol plays for fun. Survival will be instinctly done. What of the phenomenon? Our people really want to change. That's all that we've been asking. We don't know what to do. But some of you won't be ready when change come knocking at your door. So what will you do when the revolution comes? Some won't think it's really here, 'cause we've been beat down so long and had the dog sick on us, don't have no more fears. Others will say bring it on. Stop the hustle, put on brass knuckles, lace and buckle, combat boots and standing clear. Our tribal doctors will provide the slaves, hidden under the collection plate, and spill the truth in them in their face. The enemy will dissipate. Our people really want to change. That's all that we've been asking. We don't know what to but do. Now the time has come when we're not asking anyone no more. So what will you do when the revolution comes? When the revolution comes, niggas will turn into gods and exercise their rights to be the chosen one. When the revolution comes, sisters will no longer say they do not need a man to meet them in the sun. That's just like the dark not needing light. The left hand not needing the right to fight. The naked eye not needing sight. Morning and noon and night. Our people really want to change. That's all that we've been asking for. But some of you won't be ready when change comes knocking at your door. So what will you do when the revolution comes? Oh,
the
through
revolution
that.
come.